Thank you. You ain't living, and you're just spending your life waiting on the right time. I love those lyrics because they're so true. We're going to talk about making some changes in our lives today and how we can do that. So first of all, I've got a quiz for you. See if this works this time. We'll see what happened in the first service. What time is it right now in this present moment, right here? I knew that was going to happen. But on the clock, it's about 12 o'clock, right? 12, a little after 12. And if we traveled over to LA, the sandy beaches there, what time would it be there?
9 o'clock.
About 9 o'clock. And the other LA, as Reverend Virginia would say, which is Lower Alabama. And across to the snow-capped mountains in Colorado. What time is it right now?
10 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
And of course our friend here, he would say, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? Yes, he would.
He would say it's Margaritaville.
Margaritaville too, you're right. This one's a little bit tougher though. What time is it in Auckland, New Zealand? Right now, in this present moment.
12. Is it 12?
It's 16 hours ahead. It's about 4 a.m. on Monday morning, a little after 4 a.m. So if I picked up my phone and I called my friend Liam in Auckland, well, first of all, he wouldn't be happy that I called him at 4 a.m. But if I did, his clock would say 4 a.m., mine says 12. Which clock is right? They're both right. Or we could say neither. Because the time is always now. Time is always now. And there is power in the present moment. And we can remove negative thoughts and any type of self-defeating behavior from our lives in an instant when we learn how to harness the power in the eternal moment of now. And today, I'm going to share with you my story, how I was able to use that power to change my life. I'm going to share with you what the scriptures talk about time in the present moment, and also how you can make changes in your life as well by utilizing that power in the present moment. So for me, my story begins back when I was in college. I was a freshman at 17 years old at Hillsborough Community College right here in Tampa. I was on the basketball team. That's my, oh good, you put me up. I'm already there. That's me, a younger version of me there. Yeah, high top fade and all, but it was in at that time. So I was a freshman on the basketball team. I was driving my first car, which is a 1971 Datsun 510. I loved the car. Had a couple problems. Every time you put gas in it, it filled it up. It smelled like gas for like 3 days. There was something wrong with the gas tank. But you know what? I was a freshman in college. We put half the basketball team in there, and we just go driving. We'd be happy. Go for 3 weeks on 1 tank of gas. It was awesome. But as I started my college career, some of the guys that I hung around were 21 years old, almost all of them. I was 17 and they were 21, so they had a huge impact on my life at that time. And so how I got introduced to college, and they introduced me to that life. And we did a lot of partying, we did a lot of drinking. And that's how I was introduced to college. And I quickly began to equate the only way of having a good time was to drink. That was it. And as I moved through those college years, now needless to say, our basketball team wasn't that good. We didn't win too many games that year. We didn't. But as I moved through those college years, I graduated from HCC and I moved on to Mercer University in Macon, Georgia. But I continued the same self-defeating habits. Always equating drinking with having a good time. I thought that's the way it's supposed to be. Now, when you're in college, some of that behavior can almost be considered acceptable as a college student. But when you become an adult, as the scriptures say, you got to put some of those childish things behind. And I didn't want to do that. So when I left Mercer, first of all, this guy was born. 1995, he was born. Some of you might recognize him. He's just he's a little older now. He's 18 now. And then around 1998, she was born. And I'm sure some of you might recognize her. Actually, she's 16 years old today. Today's her birthday. Yeah, that's my daughter, Yanis. Now, even though I had both of them in my life, I still didn't change my ways. Becoming a father didn't change me. I still was doing the same thing. All I did was trade off partying with the basketball team and the fellas to happy hour on Friday. Maybe some of you have been there. And I remember with my coworkers going to happy hour one night. And I grabbed my keys to drive home like I had done many times before after a long night of drinking. So about 2:30 in the morning, I grab my keys, I jump in the car, and I'm driving home on 275 South. About 65 miles an hour, and I'm just driving, and I begin to feel sleepy. And I fell asleep at the wheel, crossed over 3 lanes of traffic, and crashed into the median. Now when I awoke, the airbag had deployed, and there was smoke all over the car, and there were people standing on the outside of the car, but I didn't know where they had come from. Turns out afterwards I found out that they were behind me, and they saw me just drift off to the side and crash. And so they wanted to see if I was okay. When the state trooper arrived, he told me had I not had my seatbelt on, I would have gone straight through the windshield. And I could have died that night. All because of my addiction to alcohol. But of course, I still had my excuses. You see, it wasn't really my fault. It was my friend's fault. They shouldn't let me drive home. Or maybe I was just tired. Just a little tired. So I lived on with those excuses. I kept on going, even after that. Until around 2000, 2001, I found something that really changed my life. I started to run. Some of you may know this, I'm a runner. And when I ran, I never wanted to drink. It's amazing. And I remember reading from Dr. Wayne Dyer, he said, when you feel good, it's like saying you feel God. And so I knew when I ran, I felt God. So I never wanted to drink. I felt so good that I decided to run the New York City Marathon. And I did just that. I trained for 5 months here in Tampa and didn't drink one time. That was so good. And I found myself standing on the New York City Marathon, getting ready to start, with 30,000 of my closest friends. And we get ready to take off over the Verrazano Bridge, and that's what it looks like. It's literally a sea of people going across the bridge. I was there in 2003. I did that race. And when they start the race, they start playing that song. Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. Yeah. And we're running over the bridge, and I'm just traversing through every borough of New York City, and I feel so good. I'm feeling God, and I just know I've got this under control. As I end up in Central Park, as we finish the race, and they drape that medal around my neck, and they wrap me in a blanket, and I feel like, yes, I've got it under control. But guess what I did right after crossing the finish line?
Went out and had a drink.
That's the A train, and I took that to the first bar I could find to go have another drink. I went right back to my old ways. You see, the addiction still had its control on me. So I came back to Tampa, and I lived that way for years. The same way over and over. As a matter of fact, I had an excuse for every single day. Some of you might have heard some of them before. Let's see, Monday was Monday Night Football. Well, there's a reason. Then you got Tuesday, that's Tuesday night at the club. There's another reason. Wednesday was Dollar Drink Night at Green Iguana, and that's a reason. Thursday's Thursday Night Football, that's definitely a reason. Now you're on Friday, and well, that's happy hour. There's another reason. Then you get to Saturday, well, that's, everybody goes out on Saturday, right? And here I am right back at Sunday. And then on Sunday, you've got football, you've got the beach, you've got barbecues. Every single day, I had an excuse to go out and drink. See, the addiction was controlling my life. And I stayed that way for a few more years until I picked up a book that completely changed my life forever. And I want to share with you what that book is. Thank you. It's already up there. It's called Excuses to Be Gone. Dr. Wayne Dyer. Some of you may know Dr. Wayne Dyer. I was introduced to him. Whoa, dropping stuff. I saw him on TV before. This is the first time I saw him. And he was speaking, but I didn't know really what he was about. I didn't have the experience of unity at the time. But whatever he said, it was resonating with me. And I'm like, man, I like this guy. So when I saw his book, I said, I got to read it because I know that I have to make changes in my life. And it's talking about excuses be gone. Well, I got some excuses that need to be gone. So that's why I did it. And here's the passage that I read that completely changed my life. Our relationship to the present moment defines our relationship to life itself. So if your head is filled with frustrating or angry thoughts about what isn't happening or the way the world looks to you, you're not going to have a very good relationship with life. Yet a dysfunctional relationship with life is really nothing more than a dysfunctional relationship with the present moment. Again, life only gets lived in the now. All we get is now, now, now. When I read that passage, I decided that day I would never have a drink again. And that was 5 years ago. And I haven't had a drink since. Thank you. Thank you. I say that not for applause. I say that for this. To realize, I realized in that present moment, that time, I said, I have the power within me to change my life. When I recognize that power in that present moment. And the first thing I wanted to do is I said, I've got to share this with people. Because if it can change my life, it can change someone else's life. So what I do, I go to the Bible because I've been a student of the Bible since I was, well, as long as I can remember. So I said, where in the Bible can I learn about this? What does it say about it? So, Amanda, can you put that up?
Yes.
It's Ecclesiastes 3:1-8. It's always intrigued me, this part of the Bible. It's a time and a place for everything under the heavens. And to understand this passage, we've got to understand our relationship to the present moment. Our relationship to the now. The now has nothing to do with that clock on the wall. It has nothing to do with the watch that you wear on your wrist. It's completely outside of time. It's always in motion. You can't stamp it and say, this is now. You have to move with it. And when you understand that, then you look at the passage and what the writer is saying. He's not being prescriptive, he's being descriptive. He's not saying, here's the time to do this and here's the time to do this. What the writer is saying is, all of these things happen. And they all happen now. And when you look at Ecclesiastes 3:1-8, all of the things that it talks about in there, they all happen right now in our world. So the question isn't, are they going to happen or when are they going to happen? The question is, what are we going to do about it? See, our lives are determined not by what happens, but what we do about what happens. It's our choices. That's what makes the difference. I love the way Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith put it. He said that a story shouldn't begin with once upon a time. It should begin with once upon a choice. That's how a story should begin. Because our lives are all about our choices. So the question is, what can we do? How can we harness this power? How can we release those negative thoughts? How can we remove those self-defeating behaviors from our lives? And I want you to do this. When you think of the word now, think of it this way. When you think of in, think of new. You get the opportunity to become new every single day. As a matter of fact, every single present moment. You know, your bodies are becoming new all the time. The outer layer of your skin is called the epidermis. You know, it replaces itself every 35 days. You have a totally new layer of skin every 35 days. As you sit here, 50,000 cells just died in your body and replaced by 50,000 more cells. It happens every 3 seconds of your existence. I run marathons and I get tired just thinking about that. Your body's doing some amazing things. It is. You're becoming new in your body. It's time to become new in your mind and in your spirit. When you think of omnipresence, God is in all things, at all places, at all times. And if God is for you, then who can be against you? I love the way Dr. Wayne Dyer put it. He was in the interview with Oprah. And he said, with God, all things are possible. It's in Matthew. But then he followed it up with a question, which I love. He said, what does that leave out? Nothing. Nothing is left out from that. So that means if you want to change your life, if there's anything that you want to remove from your life, you can do that. You can achieve it. And you can do it now. You have that a power within you to do that. And finally, when you think of W, think of work. Because yes, you've got to put in your part. You've got to do something too. You've got to move to get the universe to move too. We have a saying as runners, we say, if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. I believe that to be true. I'm getting ready to run a marathon in December. I've got to challenge myself. The next 4 months is going to be a lot of running, a lot of hard work put in so I can make it to that 26.2 mile journey that I'm going to do in December. They say the hammer of persistence drives the nail of success. You've got to put in some work. And when you start to move, then the universe starts to move with you. And the right people show up at the right place at the right time, which is now. So yes, you can. You can remove any negative thought from your life, any type of self-defeating behavior from your lives in an instant. When you learn how to harness that power in the eternal moment of now. So don't wait for tomorrow. Don't wait for someday or one day, because none of those exist. The only thing we have is the precious present moment. The time is always now. So my name is T. And his name is Marion. Thank you for allowing me to share my story with you today. As always, allow the universe to work in your favor and be blessed.